Welcome to the Almost Daily Dave. I'm Dave Lamont, and I think I have finally figured out how to be ready for this broadcast. If you go back to my YouTube channel, which costs you nothing to subscribe, by the way, and that is a cheap way to get you to go to YouTube, there are some funny faces that are made there at the start of these broadcasts, some really odd-looking ones, because I might be looking off or I have a weird look on my face, like sort of a pseudo-frown smile combined into one. So, yeah, very bizarre, but hey, only been doing this my whole life, practically my bad. All right, I have a couple things. This is going to last a little bit longer than 5 minutes, most likely. First off, the NBA playoffs already are steeped in some mild controversy over the ejection of Dallas's Kristaps Porzingis, which was roundly ripped by NBA players and other people on Twitter, but as high as on the food chain as LeBron James calling it foolish or bogus or whatever word that he used. It was rather light, the ejection for two technical fouls that were two apart, one early, one later. And it did have an effect on the game as the Mavs were ahead at the time and ended up losing game one to a team that many people believe is good enough to win the NBA championship. I'm not saying it had a complete effect on the game, although I do think that Luka Doncic is a little bit better when he has somebody else to help him, as most players would be. Even though Doncic put in 42, the best playoff debut of all time as far as points go, if you can imagine that. That means not even Wilt Chamberlain, who was the ultimate scoring machine, or Kareem, or back then Lou Alcindor, did that. That's how good Luka is, by the way. If you haven't caught on to the Luka train yet, you should. But I wonder about if we're going to see more of this. I hate to use overreaction, but it was an overreaction by the officials, because you're in a much quieter environment. Much quieter environment. I know they're blowing crowd noise in there, but it's not now. This game would have been in LA, so the crowd would have been reacting in a favorable manner. Had the game been in Dallas, there would have been also, is the official going to feel intimidated? Or is the official going to be intimidated by the fact that he can really hear Porzingis complaining? Or is he overreact? That's a possibility. I maintain it is absolutely a possibility that the officials are acting or reacting a little differently and forgetting about the playoffs and forgetting about the emotion that's involved in the playoff, where a better official, a good official, will back it up a little bit and go, okay, I understand. I'm going to give him a little time, a few seconds to blow steam off, but then I'm going to cut it off. Here's how you're going to find this out. Look for the superstar players. And one thing I don't like about the NBA is everybody complains. So your James Hardens, your LeBrons, you guys like that who are the real megastars of the league, who certainly are above Porzingis in stardom, if they do something similar, what's going to happen? Will they be treated differently? Well, I think we know the answer to that. Now, don't we? Or, the NBA, this is a mild black eye because people complain about officiating all the time, and of course it never changes anything. What's going on in the Big Ten is more like a rabbit punch, a shot below the belt, because we're beginning to find out that 12-2 vote to postpone football possibly to the spring in the Big Ten, the vote itself may not have even happened. And then we heard it went from 12-2 to 8-6, if that's true. And then some people, an AD at Penn State, suggesting that there wasn't even a vote, that there was just sort of a meeting and kind of a consensus, according to somebody else from Minnesota. So Kevin Warren is now the commissioner of the Big Ten. And I think he wishes he was with Jim Delaney on the golf course right now. Now, Kevin Warren, by all accounts, is highly qualified. He has moved through the ranks the classic way. He was the president of an NFL team for a little while. He was with the Vikings. He had a very high role with the Vikings before he ends up at the Big Ten offices. It's a job you don't say no to. So I'm not saying this guy is not qualified. But he is learning the hard way that in a pandemic, nothing is easy. And he's got a lot of blowback over the decision to cancel, part of which is that the Big Ten hasn't been as open as the Pac-12. The Pac-12 has been much more open medically. And if you watched the Nooner yesterday, my guest, attorney Joe Casal, pointed out that what he thinks is missing and would really help educate the public is getting the medical opinions of the people who are speaking to the conferences. Why is the ACC getting the green flag while the Pac-12 is getting shut down? Why is the Big Ten shut down and the SEC is marching on, releasing a schedule that starts on September 26th? By the way, do you read those schedules? I don't. I'm not going to read a schedule yet. I don't see the point of it. Not with the uncertainty. Why get excited about it? I mean, I know if you're a hardcore fan, and I appreciate that the game means a lot to a lot of people, it certainly means a lot to me as well. But it's just so difficult to get into the analysis of it all. Yeah, let's go ahead and look at week 4, and that's going to be a big week for Alabama. Nah. Dude, we may not get to week 4. I would love for that to happen as safely as possible. But I can't predict that, and neither can you. We can say what we want, but So let's back it up to the Big Ten. So now, and you've got this incredibly popular petition started by Justin Fields at Ohio State. You've got parent blowback. Let's not forget that the parents, and I've done this, turn their sons and daughters over to these universities and these conferences for well-being. Part of what you're counting on, in addition to them getting an education out of all this, is to play their sports as safely as possible, in the best conditions possible, getting the best training possible, the best coaching possible, so on down the line. Look, the parents are worried that their children, their boys and girls, are going to get screwed out of a season and out of eligibility. And that's a fair worry. So the great balancing act between worrying about that and worrying about health and worrying about that and worrying about health, and that's all it's doing right now. Nothing is balanced. That's why we're having this huge controversy. Now, part of it is driven by people who just want to watch sports. They want their college football. They're having a hard time adapting the idea without it. And the devastation that no college football in the towns that won't have it, financial devastation is going to be ridiculous. A lot of these college towns require two-night, three-night minimum stays in hotels. That means the bars, the restaurants, the malls, everything, coffee shops, on-campus bookstores, off-campus stores that sell gear. All these are taking a giant hit. Let's face it, if you are in a bookstore, you're more likely to buy more gear than if you're just scrolling down your list online. You're going to make an emotional purchase, which is, you don't really do that online. At least I don't. Maybe some of you do. I don't. So there's all this at stake. And the commissioner of the Big Ten and all these other conferences juggling the money end of it with the safety end of it and worrying about you know what. It's a lousy place to be in right now. But above them all, Commissioner of the Big Ten is in a bad spot because he's getting gigantic blowback at the moment. They've lost control of the narrative, and they've got to get it back. We need to know, was there really a vote? Don't lie. Was there a vote? If there wasn't, why was it released as a vote? It got out through the Dan Patrick show first that it was a 12-2 vote. Then we hear it's 8-6. Then we hear there was no vote. Well, which is it? Tell the truth, even if it hurts. And burrowing yourself into a gopher hole is not going to work. I don't mean Minnesota Gophers either. So that's the big challenge for the Big Ten, is to be big, to be grown up, to answer the tough questions, to come out with your evidence. What's your medical evidence? What's your evidence? What are your people saying about not playing? And if you do that, maybe some of that gas pressure, will be relieved. Otherwise, you're going to face tremendous negativity, tremendous negative publicity from a lot of outlets, and you're just going to make more of your fans mad, more of your players mad, more of your coaches mad, more of everybody mad at you. Have we not, those of us who are parents, told our children to tell the truth even if it hurts? That's what the Big Ten has to do. All right, a little bit longer than normal on the Almost Daily, Dave, but why not? Lots to talk about. There is a story that I was going to talk about today that I still want to talk about this week that absolutely blows my mind. And perhaps we can get to that tomorrow unless something else crazy is going on in the world. Free subscription on YouTube. Twitter handles right there. No, there. I can never figure it out. It's right over there. You find it. And thank you very much. I'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, with another Almost Daily Dave. Take care. Be safe.